Dear students, in our class 9, we learn the questions regarding moving charges and magnetism. We start with the questions now. An electron in motion is associated with, we read the options now, only an electric field, only a magnetic field, both electric and magnetic fields, either electric or magnetic fields. Observe a charge, electron is a charge. When it is in motion, it produces both electric and magnetic fields. Therefore, option 3 is correct. As we know, the source of electric field is charge and source of magnetic field is current, but current is nothing but flow of charges. Therefore, option 3 is correct. The second question, a strong magnetic field is applied on a stationary electron. Then the electron, observe it is given stationary. That means it produces only electric field as it is stationary. Therefore, there is no magnetic field to interact. We read the options. Move in direction of field. It's impossible. If it is at rest, it remains at rest. Remains stationary. Therefore, second option is correct. And two more options are wrong. There. Going for the third question now. Magnetic field due to a long straight conductor of length x carrying current at a point distance d from it is given by directly from by applying the Biot-Savart's law and other things. We got the formula mu naught I by 2 pi r or 2 pi d. Here the first option will be the correct one. So option 1 is right. Say fourth question we read. A current passing through a circular coil of 2 turns produces a magnetic field B at its center. The coil then rewound so as to have 4 turns and same current is passed through it. The magnetic field at its center is now. Say I will just give you a shortcut for this, a final formula. Later on I will explain how you got it. Say finally the magnetic field is B2 after rewounding the coil and the magnetic field is B1 before rewinding the coil. In fact, this ratio will be given by N2 by N1 whole square. This is the final formula what we can use in this type of cases when we rewound the coils, where N2 is number of turns in the second case, N1 is the number of turns in the first case. Here it is given, in the first case, coil has 2 turns, that means N1 is 2. N2, the coil is then rewound to have the 4 turns, N2 is 4 whole square. That means 4. That means B2 is 4 times B1, what is nothing but 4B. So option 2 is right. Option 2 is right. But how we got this final formula, we can think of it like this. We know the magnetic field at the center of the circular coil is mu naught Ni by 2R. Here observe, when current is same, only number of turns and radius change when we rewound that. Therefore, I can simply write B proportional to N by R. Therefore, we can write B2 by B1 as N2 by N1 into R1 by R2. But we know same wire is wound into different number of turns. Therefore, if in the beginning 2 pi R1 is the circumference of the coil into number of turns N1 will give us the total length of the wire used, and that should be same in the second case also. So say in the second case circumference is 2 pi R2 into N2 number of turns. So cancelling all these things, we can write N2 by N1 as R1 by R2. Therefore, we have the shortcut formula what we already used. B2 by B1 is N2 by N1. R1 by R2 is also N2 by N1. Therefore, N2 by N1 whole square. So this is how we got. But in the exam, you can straight away make use of this. Please remember, this type of formula can be used when we have a coil and we rewound it to have number of turns, either smaller or larger number of turns. Now we go for the fifth question. An electron of mass Me and a proton of mass Mp is injected into a uniform magnetic field at right angles to the direction of field with equal velocity. Observe, equal velocity is given. The ratio of the radii of their orbits Re by Rp is, say we simply know R, radius of the charged particle moving in a magnetic field in the form of a circular path, mv by qb. Observe here, in this velocity is given to be same for both electron and proton. Magnetic field is same, charge on proton and electron is also same. Therefore, simply R is proportional to mass of the particle. Here we have two particles, electron and proton. Simply we can write Re by Rp, which is proportional to mass only, Me by Mp. Therefore, option 2 is correct. Sixth question. ABCD is a square loop made of a uniform conducting wire. Say the naming is left, ABCD, like this. The current enters at the loop at A and leaves at D. The magnetic field is, say in this situation or in any of this type of situation, the current divides in the suitable ratio. Here AB, BC and CD will have 3 times the resistance than AD. Therefore, current in ABCD will be 1/3 of the current passing through this. Because of these ideas, in the magnetic field at the center of the loop will have 2 opposite direction by ABCD and AD only. Observe, by applying the right hand rule, you can find out the magnetic field due to this part downwards, and magnetic field due to AD part, it comes up. Therefore, one going in, one going up at the center, and depending on the currents flowing there. In ABCD part, it is, say, 1/3 the current flowing through AD. Therefore, we can choose, we can see the magnetic field at center only 0. In any other part, magnetic field may be different. So, option 1 is correct. Option 1 is correct. Now we think of 7th question. The electrons in a beam of cathode ray tube move horizontally from south to north. The vertical component of Earth's magnetic field points downwards. The electron is deflected. Say, they have given electrons are moving from south to north. We write, say, like this. This is south and this is north. This is electron movement direction. And the field, Earth's magnetic field is points downwards. That means in this figure on the paper, I can take it is inwards. If we imagine it from down, so it is like this, downwards. That is why I am denoting it by cross. It is going into the paper, it is downwards like this. Now, the electron is deflected. This is given by Fleming's left hand rule, where in the Fleming's left hand rule, forefinger points in the direction of field, middle finger points in the direction of motion of current, then thumb gives the direction of force acting on the thing. Once again, forefinger in the field direction, middle finger in the direction of path of the charge or current, Then thumb gives the direction of force. Now if we apply that, we have to take the middle finger in the direction of south to north and forefinger should point down. Then our thumb is towards the right. Towards the right means, say if we write it like this, this is east and this is west. Say it is given. Now we again go for it. Forefinger pointing down, middle finger in the direction of field, our thumb pointing towards our left, that is towards the west. But it is given electron, a negative charge, therefore it should be towards east. It should be towards east. Therefore option is east. Electron is deflected towards the east. Now, question number 8. An electron moving in a circular orbit of radius r makes n rotations per second. The magnetic field produced at the center has the magnitude. That means we know magnetic field at the center of the current loop, circular loop, is mu naught I by 2r. Here, except for all other factor I to be found out. For n rotations of electron, it produces an equivalent current. That current can be calculated by using formula Q by T, where Q is charge, T is time period of the electron. So, time period can be calculated by using omega. Omega is 2 pi by T. But it is given n2 pi radians per second. N rotations given 2 pi. So, cancel it. 1 by T is n. Therefore, I can simply write I as E into 1 by T means n. Therefore, if I substitute for B, I get mu naught. For I substitute Ne divided by 2R. So, option 3 is correct. What we have now is option 3. Mu naught Ne by 2R. So, now we think of 9th question here. A cell is connected between the points A and C of a circular conductor ABCD of center O. Angle AOC is 60 degree. If B1 and B2 are the magnitudes of magnetic fields at center due fields at O due to currents ABC in ABC and ADC respectively, the ratio B1 by B2. Here we first arrive at the solution and finally we come to a very important conclusion which helps us to solve some numericals by inspection. Now we observe this figure. Current I is entering but 60 degrees is given. That means you can make 6 divisions out of the circle of 60 degree like this. Therefore, 5 divisions are in ABC, 1 division is in ADC. Therefore, the resistance of the wire in ABC is 5 times more than resistance of wire in ADC because length is 5 times larger. In the same manner, we know I is inversely proportional to R, the resistance. Current is inversely proportional to resistance. Therefore, current in ABC, that is I1, is 1 by 5 times the main current. I2 is 1 times, say, this is 5 by 6 times the main current. This is 1 by 6 the main current, I. Therefore, by using these ideas, we can simply calculate the magnetic field. But before that, we ascertain the directions of the magnetic field also. Observe by using right hand rule, curve rule, for ABC, if I hold my right hand like this, thumb points downwards. Therefore, magnetic field due to ABC is into. And by this, magnetic field is, say, upwards by ADC. So, one upward, one downward. Field directions are opposite. Now, we want to calculate the ratio. I use the formula B equals Biot-Savart's formula mu naught by 4 pi I dl by r square. I don't write sin theta because ideal sin theta, theta is 90 degree because at all points current element direction is perpendicular to the r direction, radius vector direction. Therefore, I can leave sin theta, that is sin 90, it becomes 1. Now, using this, I can simply write B proportional to I dl. Therefore, from this figure I can write, if I call this ABC length as L1 and ADC length as L2, therefore I can write B1 by B2 as I1 L1 divided by I2 L2. But we know I equals V by R. I is inversely proportional to R. Therefore, I can write I inversely proportional to R, but R directly proportional to length. Directly proportional to length. Therefore, we can simply write I is inversely proportional to length. Therefore, from our formula B1 by B2 is I1, instead of I1, I write 1 by L1 into L1 divided by, instead of I2, I write 1 by L2 into L2. So, cancel all these things, you will get 1 by 1. So, option 3 is correct. But in this type of symmetrical cases, you need not worry about the calculation. You can simply say magnetic field at the center is always equal and opposite due to two parts of the circle, or even in any distribution, just like what we learnt in one of the previous problems there, saying, I think it is in 6th problem, magnetic field is 0 only at the center of the square. In the same manner, here also, magnetic field at the center of the circle is, net field is 0 because B1 and B2 are equal and opposite. But here we are asked B1 by B2 ratio, that is 1:1. So, option 3 is right. Now, question 10 we learn. Here, observe the wire loop PQRS given, formed by joining two semicircular wires of radii R1 and R2 carries a current I as shown. The magnitude of the magnetic induction at the center O is, observe here, it is semicircles. Therefore, we can make use of the formula half of the magnetic field due to circular loop at the center. That is, magnetic field at the center of the circular loop is given by mu naught Ni by 2R, where N is number of turns. Here we can take 1, simply mu naught I by 2R. But we are given with semicircles, therefore we can take magnetic field due to each semicircle, what we call as SC semicircle, mu naught N is 1 I take, 2 by 4R, half of this will be there. So, this is the magnetic field due to each semicircle. And we now think of direction of the magnetic fields. Observe here, a current in the first loop, that is this R1 radius loop, it is like this. So, magnetic field is upwards. So, current due to the semicircle of radius R1 is upwards, and current due to semicircle of radius R2 is downwards, like this. Therefore, one is upward, one is downward. As the radius R1 is smaller, magnetic field due to inner circular wire is larger than the outer. Therefore, I can simply write magnetic field due to inner semicircle as B1, which I can write as mu naught I by 4R1. In the same manner, B2, magnetic field due to outer semicircle, mu naught I by 4R2. But observe, you may wonder why I am not considering magnetic field due to PQ and RS. As you can see, these are semicircles. PQ and RS are in line with O. You know, magnetic field is produced perpendicular to the length of the conductor, but not along its length, along its line of or length. Therefore, we need not consider magnetic field due to PQ or RS. So, we have only two. That too, B1 is larger than B2. So, net field can be written as B equals B1 minus B2. Say in these two, mu naught I by 4 can be taken out. Mu naught I by 4 is common. So, we left inside minus 1 by R1. Say 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. So, option 1 is correct. Option 1 is correct. In the 11th question, we read A and B are two conductors carrying current I in the same direction X and Y. Are two electron same direction. X and Y are two electron beams moving in the same direction. Observe here, A and B are two conductors. They carry current in the same direction. That means we know when two parallel conductors carry current in the same direction, they attract. And also X and Y are electron beams, they are also moving in the same direction. With this idea, we read the four options. There will be an attraction between A and B and also between X and Y. First part is right, between A and B, but we think of X and Y. X and Y are two electron beams moving in the same direction. That means they constitute current in the same direction. In this figure, as X and Y are towards right, the currents constituting due to X and Y are towards left. You know, the direction of current is opposite to the direction of electrons' motion as it is negatively charged. Therefore, in X and Y also, resultant currents are in same direction. So, when current in same direction, they must attract. So, there is attraction between X and Y also, A and B also. So, option 1 is correct. Going on to 12th question now. Three long straight wires A, B and C are carrying current as shown in figure. The resultant force on B is directed. Here we need not worry about magnitude of the force because we are given only direction. We are asked to calculate direction, directed. So, we think of, say, A and B, 1 ampere in A, 2 ampere in B are flowing in opposite direction. That means A should repel B. That means A should repel B means it pushes the B towards C. That means I write FBA, force on B due to A. In the same manner, force due to C, we think of force due to C, we think of, say, C and B have same directions. That means there is attraction. I write that like this. It I call as FBC. FBA and FBC both are in same direction. They must add. So, net force on B is F equals FBA plus FBC, which are in same direction. Therefore, net force is towards C. Option 4 is right. We can also calculate the magnitude. If you want, you can calculate the magnitude by using the formula mu naught I1. I1 means, say here I write IA means current in A, IB current in B, 2 pi A1 the distance between them, that is 2 centimeter, plus FBC can also be written mu naught IB IC divided by 2 pi A2. A2 is also given. So you can calculate the magnitude. Sometimes in some numericals they may ask you to calculate the magnitude. Then you can make use of this formula. Now we proceed on to next question. A charged particle with velocity 2 into 10 raised to 3 meter per second passes undeflected through electric and magnetic fields in mutually perpendicular directions. The magnetic field is 1.5 Tesla. Electric field intensity will be, observe, it's a question. Can you think of what is the concept behind it? That concept is hinted by this undeflected word. Undeflected in both electric and magnetic fields. That means it is a velocity selector idea or velocity selector concept. In this concept, we know the particles get undeviated, get through without any deviation when the condition velocity is equal to E by B is satisfied for magnitude. Now, we substitute everything for this, we'll get E magnitude, B into V. What is B there? 1.5 Tesla, V 2 into 10 raised to 3. So 3 into 10 raised to 3 Newton per Coulomb. So option 1 is correct there. 14th we read. In a cyclotron, a charged particle, we read the options. Speed increases between the D's because of the electric field. Definitely it is. It is only because of oscillating electric field what we apply. The speed increases. So option 1 itself is correct. We read other 2-3 options also. We'll learn some more extra things. Slows down within a D and speeds up between the D's. Even though it speeds up between the D's, but slows down within a D is not possible, because within the D it is moving in the magnetic field. In the magnetic field only direction can change, no question of decreasing or increasing the speed. Coming over to third option there, undergoes acceleration at all time. That's also meaningless, because acceleration means force should act. That means only in the electric field it undergoes acceleration. In the magnetic field we know charge will accelerate only in the direction due to change in the direction, but no question of change in the magnitude of velocity. Therefore, that is the answer. Next, 4. Speeds up in D. It is also not possible. In that sense, if you take acceleration, that acceleration is centripetal inside the D's. Therefore, its direction is always towards the center, and also if we take that, there is acceleration at all times, but majorly the speed of the particles increase only in between the D's. That's why I chose option 1. Now, going for the next question there. 2 concentric circular loops of radii 0.08 meter and 0.1 meter carry current such that magnetic field at the center is 0. If the current in the outer loop is 8 ampere clockwise, current in the inner loop is, say I write the figure here, one loop, another loop. This is a common center for both the loops. And this I take as R1, this I take as R2. And from the figure, from the given statement, R1 is 0.08 meters, R2 is 0.1 meter. And current in the first one to be calculated, inner loop, and outer loop current is given 8 ampere. Now how to find out this? Say for the field to be 0 at center, magnetic field produced by both the wires should be in the opposite direction. We are given if the current in the outer loop is in clockwise direction, that means this way. Now the field due to that is downwards. It is into the paper. So magnetic field due to inner loop should be upwards. So out of the paper it should be. So now the current should be in the anti-clockwise direction. So among 4 options we have 50-50 choice now. Anti-clockwise is there in 1 and 3. So 1 among 1 and 3 only the answer. 2 and 4 cannot be. Now we check which is correct among 1 and 3. For that we need to calculate the field, or we need to equate the field due to inner coil and outer coil. I call inner coil field as B1 and outer coil field as B2. B1 I write mu naught. I imagine only one loop, circular loop, one turn, mu naught I1. Mu naught I1 inner loop by 2R1, which is equal to mu naught I2 by 2R2. So cancel all these things. Now we have to calculate the I1, the inner coil current. I1 is I2 R1 by R2. I2 is 8 ampere. R1 is 0.08 by 0.1. So 8 into 0.8, which is 6.4. And already we discussed about the direction. It is anti-clockwise. Therefore, option 1 is correct. Option 1 is correct. Now we think of 16th question. A straight wire of mass 200 gram and length 1.5 meter carries a current 2 ampere. It is suspended in mid-air by a uniform horizontal magnetic field B. The magnitude of B in Tesla is. Observe, you might have gone through this type of very similar numerical in the NCERT textbook in this chapter, moving charges and magnetic field. That's why always we find, after analyzing the many papers of NEET or CET, this type of say NCERT examples and exercises are very, very important. So now we solve this. Here observe, it is given like this. A wire which carries current of 2 ampere and whose length is 1.5 meter and mass is 200 gram is suspended in the mid-air by uniform horizontal magnetic field. That means if the weight of this is downwards, its magnetic field force, what we call as BIL, is upwards. Therefore, to calculate the given thing here, magnitude of magnetic field B, we can make use of this simple relation. BIL should be equal and opposite to weight of the thing, weight of the wire, because to make it to suspend in air, that means it's neither going up nor coming down. These two forces should be balanced. Therefore, now I can simply write B equals mg by IL. Substitute everything. You will get m is 200 grams. So I write it as 0.2 kg to be converted into G. We can take 9.8 divided by current 2 and L 1.5. Observe, this is 0.1 and If I take 9.8 as 10 there, 1.5, 6 times it goes, 6.6. Therefore, approximately 0.66 is the answer. Option number 2 is correct. So, second option is correct. Now, 17th question we read. A wire PQR is bent as shown in the figure. Say it is shown like this at right angles and is placed in a region of uniform magnetic field B. B direction is also shown. Length PQ and QR, PQ and QR are 1. That means 1 unit. A current I flows through the wire as shown. The magnitude of the force on PQ and QR will be. Now observe here we have to be very careful. B direction and current in the PQ direction or length of the PQ are in same direction. That means in the BIL sin theta form, theta is 0 between them. Therefore, magnetic field on, say, force on PQ is 0. And now, magnetic field on QR, B is perpendicular to that, sin 90 is 1, BIL. Therefore, force on PQ, FPQ is 0, FQR is BIL. Therefore, option 1 is correct. Option 1 is correct. Now we read the 18th question. Force of attraction between two parallel current carrying conductors is F, Newton per meter. Currents through each of them are doubled and reversed. The new force in Newton per meter between these conductions, in fact it should be conductors, there's a mistake, conductors. How to solve this? Say we imagine this figure. Two current carrying conductors A and B, and they are, say, carrying the current in same direction. Say they are attracting each other. Say we read force of attraction. We know when currents are in the same direction, the attraction is there. So by the word force of attraction, we take the current direction. They must be in the same direction. Now, the force F equals mu naught I1 I2 by 2 pi A, where A is the distance between them. Now, in the second situation, currents through each of them are doubled and reversed. I write down. Say A and B again. Current now like this. This is 2I1, 2I2, doubled A and B. Now the force I write F dash mu naught 2I1, 2I2 by 2 pi A only at the same distance. So 4 mu naught I1 I2 by 2 pi A, what I can write as 4F. But again observe, they are in the same direction, the currents are in the same direction, even though they are opposite to first situation, but the currents in A and B now in the second situation also in the same direction, there should be an attraction. Therefore, the force remains attraction and it is 4 times the F once the current is doubled. So option 1 is correct there. Option 1 is correct. Now we think of next question, that is 19th question we read. A proton, a deuteron with the same initial kinetic energy enter a magnetic field in a direction perpendicular to the direction of the field. The ratio of radii of the circular trajectories. Now we first write down the formula for radius R equals mv by bq. Here we are given proton, deuteron. They move with same kinetic energy. Therefore, As we know, momentum mv can be written as kinetic energy in terms of kinetic energy like this, 2m ek, where ek is kinetic energy. Therefore, by using this formula, observe here, I can simply write R equals root of 2m ek by qb. But we are given proton and deuteron. Proton and deuteron. Deuteron means an isotope of proton. So, charge on deuteron and proton remains same. Q remains same. Magnetic field is given and it is also remaining same. And Ek, the kinetic energy, is also same. Only thing that differs is mass, because if we take proton mass as 1, deuteron mass to be 2, because deuteron contains one neutron also along with one proton. So simply I write R proportional to root m. Therefore, R proton by R deuteron is mass of proton by mass of deuteron, which amounts to be root of 1 by root of 2, 1 is to root 2. So option 4 is correct. Fourth option is correct. 20th question. A charged particle is moving in a magnetic field of strength B perpendicular to the direction of the field. If Q and M denote the charge and mass of the particle respectively, then the frequency of revolution of the particle, you know, this frequency of revolution of the particle is called a cyclotron frequency, and it's a formula directly derived. So, you know, cyclotron frequency is given by BQ by 2 pi m. So, option 3 is right. Option 3 is right. Now we think of 21st question there. A current carrying conductor is bent into a quarter of a circle of radius r as shown. The magnetic field at the center, say we apply Biot-Savart's law, or even the circular loop formula itself for the magnetic field. First we write the direction by using the Biot-Savart's law, right hand class rule or curl rule also. Say if I apply the curl rule by imagining the complete circle, the field is into the paper at C. So it is inwards. Now, so in the 1, 2, 3 options inwards is there. So 1 among 1, 2, 3 is the correct option. Now we'll check the magnitude. Say we know magnetic field due to circular loop mu naught I by 2r. For 1/4 of the circle, it should be 1/4 of the magnetic field. Therefore, mu naught I by 2r by 4, mu naught I by 8r. Therefore, option 1 is correct. First option is correct, because magnetic field is inwards and magnitude is mu naught I by 8r. Now the 22nd question we read, the resultant force on the current loop PQRS due to a long current conductor will be, we mark the PQRS there, say PQRS. We want to find out the resultant force on the current loop. Observe here, PQ and the straight conductor will have the currents in same direction. Therefore, there must be an attraction between them. The wire attracts the loop like this towards it. And in the same manner, the wire and the RS side will have opposite sides, opposite direction current. Therefore, they must repel. The force on RS is outwards. Therefore, there are two types of forces, attraction as well as repulsive force on loop. The resultant force to be calculated now. And as we can see, PQ is nearer to the straight conductor. So force on PQ is larger than force on RS. So we use the formula here for calculating the force. General formula F equals mu naught by 4 pi I1 I2 L divided by, say, mu naught by 2 pi I1 I2 L by A, like this. Here L is length of the loop and A is the separation between the straight wires there. Now we apply it for two types, force on PQ once and force on RS. As we know, they are in opposite direction. We can straight away calculate the resultant force like this. F, the resultant force F is the force on PQ minus force on RS. We substitute everything from this. Say, as we can see here, mu naught by 2 pi will result in 2 into 10 raised to minus 7. That we can take. L, the length. Both the sides PQ and RS are of 15 centimeter length. I can take 15 into 10 raised to minus 2 also outside. I1, I2, in both the things 20 amperes are flowing. Therefore, that also can be taken out, 20 into 20. Now, what we left is the separation between PQ and the wire A1, and that is 2 centimeter. Separation between RS and the wire, that is 100 centimeter. That is 10 centimeter and 2 centimeter. Therefore, the 12 centimeter between RS and the thing. Therefore, we can write 1 by A only inside, 1 by 2 into 10 raised to minus 2 divided by 1 by 12 into 10 raised to minus 2. Now, we can remove so many things, common things in numerator and denominator. We can write this 2 into 2 into 2. Say these two, 10, 10, 100. So that 10 raised to minus 2 cancels here, 100 minus 2. That means 10 raised to minus 5 I can write into 15, and now inside the bracket we have 1 by 2 minus 1 by 12. What we can write as, say, 2 into 2 into 2 into 15 into 10 raised to minus 5. This is 24. 10 by 24. Now, this we can do it now. 6. Say, here is 8. 8 3s are 24. 3 5s are 15. So, now we can write 5 into 10 raised to minus 4 Newton. Therefore, option 2 is correct. Option 2 is correct. Now, going over to the 23rd question, we think of like this. 23rd question, we think of like this. Just observe. We read it. A toroid has 500 tons per meter length. It carries a current of 2 ampere. The magnetic energy density inside the toroid is, we know magnetic field energy density U can be written as (2b square by mu naught). Just like in of B square by 2 mu naught, or as in case of electric field density of epsilon naught E square. Here mu naught comes, so 1 by 2 B square by mu naught. We substitute everything. B for the toroid is mu naught Ni. Mu naught is 4 pi 10 raised to minus 7 into N, number of turns per unit length, 500 into I, 2 ampere. If we simplify it, say we have 4 pi 10 raised to, say 2 5s are 1000, 2 into 500 is 1000, 1000 means 10 raised to minus 4. If we substitute everything there, or we can substitute B there and we can calculate like this, just observe. U equals B square is 4 pi 10 raised to minus 4 whole square divided by 2 into mu naught 4 pi 10 raised to minus 7. We write numerator like this, divided by 2 into 4 pi 10 raised to minus 7. This 4 pi cancels there, 2 2s are. Therefore, what we have, 2 pi 10 raised to minus 8 in the numerator, here 10 raised to minus 7 in the numerator. Therefore, we have 10 raised to minus 1 altogether. Therefore, 2 into 3.14 into 10 raised to minus 1. That means 0.628 joule per meter square is the energy density of the toroid. So option 3 is correct. Now we think of 24th question. A cyclotron's oscillator frequency is 10 megahertz and operating field is 0.66 Tesla. The radius of the D is 60 centimeter. Then the kinetic energy of the proton beam by the accelerator is, say here we know the formula for the frequency of the cyclotron, QB by 2 pi m. Here in this question we are given with F 100 megahertz and magnetic field is given 0.66 Tesla, and then radius of the orbit D is given 60 centimeter or 0.6 meter. As r equals 0.6 meter, we can write expression for kinetic energy by using expression r equals mv by vq, or root of 2 MEK by BQ, as EK as root of 2 pi square F square M R square. Now we substitute everything here. 2 into 3.14 into 3.14 into F 10 raised to 10 into 10 raised to 6 whole square into M mass 1.67 10 raised to minus 27 kg of the proton into R square. R is say 0.6 meter radius of the thing. So R square. If we simplify all these things, we get it in joules, and finally after conversion into joules we will get final answer 0.72 into 10 raised to 7 or 7.2 MeV. So this will be in joules, this is in electron volt. That can be done by dividing this whole thing by 1.6 10 raised to minus 19 electron charge. Now, going for 25th question, we read it now. A charge Q is accelerated through a potential difference V. It is then passed normally through a magnetic field where it moves in a circle of radius r. The potential difference is required to move it in a circle of radius 2r. Say we write expression for radius in terms of kinetic energy, that is mv by bq, which can be written as 2 root of m ek by bq, which is nothing but 2m ev or qv divided by bq. That means, observe here, mass of the charged particle remains constant, B constant, say Q constant. Only variable is voltage here. Therefore, we can simply write R is proportional to root of voltage. So, here it is given R proportional to voltage, then potential difference required to move it in a circle of radius of 2r. This gives V proportional to R square. Therefore, V dash, the new potential difference required, should be proportional to 2r whole square. So, V dash proportional to 4r square. That means V dash is equal to 4 volts. Therefore, option 2 is correct. Now, going for 26th question. In cyclotron, as radius of the circular path of a charged particle increases, where omega is angular velocity, V equals the linear velocity. What is true among these 4 options? We write V equals R omega relation, and in cyclotron, as radius of the circular path is changed. That means we know cyclotron frequency does not depend on velocity or radius. Therefore, the omega cannot change. Only V and R has to change. Therefore, as the radius increases, V should increase, but omega should remain constant. Therefore, option 3 is right. Let me explain it once again. Say in cyclotron, frequency of rotation, revolution should be kept constant. Therefore, frequency of revolution, that means omega is constant. As say R increases, V should increase. Therefore, option 3 is right. V increases, omega remains constant. We think of next question. We read it now. A proton, a deuteron and an alpha particle are projected perpendicular to the direction of uniform magnetic field with same kinetic energy. The ratio of radii of circular paths described by, say, as we written in previous question, we can write R as root of 2MEK by QB. Here, say we are given with 3 particles, proton, deuteron and alpha. For all of them, even though proton, deuteron have same charge, alpha charge is different, double the charge on proton. So, Q is different and mass is also different. But they have given, they are with same kinetic energy. Therefore, we can simply write R proportional to root of M by Q. Therefore, now we write Rp the by Rd deuteron can be written as mass of proton by charge on deuteron E. Mass of proton whole divided by charge on proton divided by mass of deuteron whole divided by charge on deuteron E, which amounts to be root MP by root MD. That means mass of proton 1 if we take, mass of deuteron 2, so 1 is to root 2. Now, if we take deuteron to alpha particle ratio, in the same manner we can write mass of deuteron to mass of alpha particle, and also the charge on deuteron E, charge on alpha particles 2E. So now we have finally root of md by root of m alpha into 2. That means md by m alpha 1 root of 2 divided by root of 4 mass of alpha particle into 2. Therefore, what we have is, say, root 2 is to 1, because these two will go. Root 2 is to 1. By comparing all these things, we can write Rp is to Rd is to R alpha as 1 is to root 2 is to 1. Therefore, option 2, say, option 1 is right. Option 1 is right. Now, going for the 28th question here, we think of a conducting wire carrying current in is arranged as shown. The field at O. Observe here we are given with arcs of the circle, and if we can name it as A, B, C, D. Here our straight line portions A, B and C, D won't contribute anything to the magnetic field at center. Only the arcs AD and BC will contribute to the magnetic field at the center. As it is given at 60 degree, we can simply write the formula by using Biot-Savart's law. As the magnetic field is perpendicular, we can simply write the formula like this. Say, due to AD, magnetic field due to AD is mu naught by 4 pi I dl is length of the circle into AD, that is AD, divided by R1 square. In the same manner, BC can say this is AAD, this is BC can be written mu naught by 4 pi I remains same. Now the BC by R2 square. But we think of the directions for these two things. The directions, say current in AD is this way, that is top to bottom. The field now will be downwards. Magnetic field due to AD at O is downwards. Magnetic field at BC, magnetic field at O due to BC is upwards. Therefore, AD and BC magnetic fields are in opposite direction, but AD magnetic field is larger. Therefore, we can write net magnetic field at O as B equals BAD minus BBC. BAD minus BBC. We write all these things now. Mu naught by 4 pi can be taken out. I can also be taken out. Now we have AD by R1 square minus BC by R2 square. Now we write all the things. AD. How to write AD? It is 1/6 of the circumference because 60 degree is there. Therefore, I can write simply AD as 1 by 6 2 pi R1. In the same manner, BC as 1 by 6 of the 2 pi R2. Therefore, if we can substitute everything there, mu naught by 4 pi I. In AD and BC we have 2 pi by 6 common. I take 2 pi by 6 and R1 by R1 square is R1 minus 1 by R2. Therefore, in the final calculation, as you can see here, 2 3s are, so 3 4s are 12. Mu naught by 12 I, say pi cancels there, mu naught I by 12 into 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. Therefore, first option is correct. Now, thinking of the 29th question, we think a proton is projected with uniform velocity v along the axis of a current carrying solenoid. Then, observe, in the current carrying solenoid, like this, the magnetic field is along the axis. Now, we read all the options. Proton will be accelerated along the axis. It is impossible because magnetic field will not exert any force there because Q, V cross B, V and B are in same direction. Therefore, they are not accelerated. Proton will be in circular motion about the axis. That is also true, not true, because V and B are in same direction. No force is exerted by the magnetic field. Proton move along the helical path. That is also not possible because of same reason. So last one, proton will continue to move with velocity v along the axis. Definitely it is correct. So now 30th, a circular coil of radius 10 centimeter and 100 tons carries a current 1 ampere. What is the magnetic moment of the coil? Magnetic moment M can be written as NIA, that is current into area along with the number of tons. Say here we substitute everything. N, number of tons is 100 and current 1 ampere. Area, as it is circular coil, I have to take pi r square, 100 into pi 3.14 r square. R is 10 centimeter. 10 into 10 raised to minus 2 whole square. If we substitute, if we calculate everything there, 100 is 10 square into 3.14 into, say 10 raised to minus 1, again 10 raised to minus 2 there. These two get cancelled. 3.14 ampere meter square is the magnetic moment. Therefore, option 3 is correct. Next, thinking of 31st question, we read, in the diagram, I1, I2 are strength of the currents in the loop and straight conductors respectively. OA, AB equals R. That means OA, radius of the coil, is same as A to B distance, R. The magnetic field at the center O is 0. Then the ratio of the currents in the loop and the straight conductors is, say, the net magnetic field at O is 0. That means magnetic field produced by circular current loop is same as magnetic field produced by straight wire. Therefore, we write two magnetic fields and we can write the ratio there. First, magnetic field due to circular coil, B circle. I write mu naught I1 by 2R. That is magnetic field due to circle. And then magnetic field due to straight wire, BSW I call, that is mu naught I2 by 2 pi, the distance between them 2r, 2 pi 2r. Now we are asked to calculate the ratio of the currents I1 by I2. Say we divide them, we will get that. But these two are equal and opposite. Therefore, I must write B circle is equal to BSW straight wire. So, mu naught I1 by 2R equals mu naught I2 by 2 pi 2R. We cancel all the things what can be cancelled there. Say this 2R goes. Now we have I1 by I2 ratio is 1 by 2 pi. Therefore, option 4 is correct. Option 4 is correct. 32nd we read now. A neutron, a proton, an electron and an alpha particle enter a region of uniform magnetic field with same velocities. The magnetic field is perpendicular and directed into the plane of the paper. That's why it is denoted with cross there. The tracks of the particles are labeled in the figure. The electron follows the track. So it's a very simple problem. It goes by concepts what we know. Neutron is neutral in charge. It will not bend in magnetic field or in electric field. So the path of the neutron should be a straight line. So straight path is C. Therefore C is for neutron. We can eliminate that. And next one, proton, electron and alpha particle. Observe here, proton and alpha are positively charged. Electron is negatively charged. That means the positive charged particles, proton and alpha, they must bend towards one end and one side. Electron should bend in the other side. Therefore, A and B are two particles which are bending on to same side to the left of the figure. Therefore, A and B must correspond to proton and alpha. What is opposite to that? That is D corresponds to electrons. Therefore, the electron path is D. Now, as the question is, the electron follows the track as the answer D. So, first option is correct. Next, going for the 33 question. An electron enters the space between the plates of a charged capacitor as shown. The charge density on the plate is sigma. Electric intensity in the space between the plates is E. A uniform magnetic field also exists in that space between exists in that space perpendicular to the direction of E. The electron moves perpendicular to both E and B without any change in the direction. The time taken by the electron to travel distance L in this space, that. Say, this is a combined problem of velocity selective and electric charge and capacitor and all those things. Now we know for velocity selection without deviation to move, E by B is the formula. V equals velocity, V equals E by B. But here we know between the plates of the capacitor E equals sigma by epsilon naught. Therefore, if I write V as now sigma by epsilon naught B. Once we know the velocity, time is taken to be calculated. Time is distance travelled by time taken or displacement by time taken. Therefore, L is the displacement and T is the time taken. Therefore, time taken is L by V. L by V. Now we substitute all the things. L divided by V, I write sigma by epsilon naught B. That is epsilon naught B L by sigma is the formula for time taken. So, option 2 is correct. Option 2 is correct. Now we think of the next question here. The torque required to hold a small circular coil of 10 tons, area 1 millimeter square, and carrying a current of 21 by 44 ampere is at the middle of the long solenoid of 10 raised to 3 tons per meter, carrying a current of 2.5 ampere, with its axis perpendicular to the axis of solenoid is. Say torque is asked to be calculated. Say here the coil is kept, small circular coil is kept perpendicular to the axis of the solenoid. That means this is the coil and it is kept perpendicular to the axis of solenoid, means magnetic field is in the direction of N there. This is the direction of magnetic field, and coil area vector will be perpendicular to the axis of the solenoid. That means the coil area, small circular coil area, perpendicular to the paper. So magnetic moment of the circular loop also perpendicular to plane of the paper. That means M and B are perpendicular. Therefore torque on the coil tau can be written as MB sin 90, which is equal to M into B, where M, magnetic moment of the small circular coil, is I into A, and into B, the solenoid magnetic field, mu naught N I, where small n, I solenoid, where small n is number of turns per unit length in the solenoid, I solenoid is current in the solenoid, I, first I, what I have written is I coil, we can write for the sake of clarity, means current in the coil, A, area of the circular coil. Now we substitute everything, I coil, that means current in the small circular coil, and it also has the number of turns, so I write it as N coil. We substitute all these things. N coil, number of turns in the small circular coil 10, current in the circular coil is 21 by 44, area of the circular coil 1 millimeter square, that is 10 raised to minus 3 whole square, into mu naught 4 pi 10 raised to minus 7 into N, number of turns per unit length 10 raised to 3 into I solenoid 2.5. So if you simplify all these things, we can write this calculation, we just write 1.5 10 raised to minus 8 we get. Therefore option 3 is correct. Option 3 is correct. Now we read 35th question. Two thick wires and two thin wires, all of same material and same length, form a square in three different ways, PQ and R, as shown in figure. With connection shown, the magnetic field due to the current flow at the center of the loop will be 0 in the case of, observe here, say in the first figure, we have two thick wires on the left side of the square, two thin wires on the right square. And in the second figure, two thick wires on the top, two thin wires on the bottom. Say here, one thick wire and one thin wire on top, and similarly on one bottom. The logic for solving this question is to have the zero magnetic field at the center of the square is to have the same currents in both top part and bottom part. It is possible only when they have same resistance. That means same resistance means, say here in this case, thick wire and one thin wire. In a so bottom part also one thick wire and thin wire. Their resistance should be same in top part and bottom part. But in the second Q, it is not possible. Thick wire is in top, that means its resistance is less because of the thickness, large thickness compared to bottom. Say here, it is a mixed thing, and also here current will divide equally again. Here also one thick wire and one thin, one thick and thin. Resistance in both the parts remains same. Therefore, the magnetic field will be 0 only in P and R. Q cannot be. Therefore, option 1 is correct. Here the concept is to have the same current in both top part and bottom part. That is possible only when the resistance in two parts remains same, because as the current equally branches in two branches of parallel combination. Therefore, here P and R will satisfy that. Therefore, option 1 is right. Now we think of the next question here. Force per unit length between the parallel wires in a circuit is 3.6 10 raised to minus 3 Newton per meter. Resistance of the circuit is, say it's a combination of electric current and moving charge and magnetic field formula. So how to do this? Say, what is the formula for magnetic force per unit length between the two conductors? That we write. Say F equals mu naught I1 I2 by 2 pi A. It is force per unit length. Force per unit length. And here I1 and I2 should remain same because these are the same parts of the circuit. Therefore, we can write force per unit length is given 3.6 10 raised to minus 3. Mu naught by 2 pi is 2 into 10 raised to minus 7. I by circuit, I can be written as EMF by resistance, or EMF is 18 by R. Therefore, I equals 18 by R in the circuit. Therefore, I1, I2 same. Therefore, 18 by R whole square divided by A, the 8 millimeter, 8 into 10 raised to minus 3. Simplifying all these things, we will get R as 1.5 ohm. So, option 2 is correct. Option 2 is correct. Now, 37th question. A straight wire of length 50 centimeter carrying a current of 2.5 ampere is suspended in mid-air by a uniform magnetic field of 0.5 Tesla. The mass of the wire. This type of problem is solved. We just go through it once again. BIL equals mg. That is, magnetic force should be upwards and the weight should be downwards. Then only it can be suspended in mid-air. We are asked to calculate m, the BIL by G to be written. We substitute everything. B, magnetic field is 0.5. L, the current is 2.5 ampere. L, length of the conductor is, say 50 centimeter means 0.5 meter, divided by G to be taken 10. So if we simplify this, say 25, 25, 625, so it amounts to be in 62.5 grams. So option 1 is right, because this is again 0.25, this is 2.5, it is around 625, but with grams it is 62.5 grams. Now, 40th question we take. 39th question, 38 and 39th we think of first and then 40th. A particle of mass m, charge q and kinetic energy T enters transfers uniform magnetic field of induction B. After 3 seconds, the kinetic energy of the particle will be, observe here, it is given charge, mass and kinetic energy. As it enters into the magnetic field, there is no change in the kinetic energy because magnetic field will not energize the particle as there is no work done on the particle, because force acting on the charged particle moving in the magnetic field is perpendicular to the velocity or displacement. Therefore, the net force acting in the direction of moment of the charge is 0 and net work done is 0 by the magnetic field. Therefore, there is no change in the kinetic energy. Therefore, option 1 is right. Let me explain it quickly like this. Say magnetic field will not do any work on the charge moving perpendicular to it, because magnetic force and displacement will become perpendicular or velocity becomes perpendicular. As there is no work, there is no change in kinetic energy according to work energy theorem. We think of 39th question now. The magnetic field at the center of the current carrying loop of 0.1 meter is 5 root 5 times that at the point along its axis. The distance of this point from the center of the loop to be calculated. Say magnetic field at the center of the current carrying loop of radius 0.1 meter is 5 root 5 times. Say here we write magnetic field at the center of the circular coil BC equals mu naught I by 2R, and magnetic field at any point on the axis of circular coil B is mu naught I R square by 2 into R square plus X square whole to the power of 3 by 2. Say with these two things, now it is given in the problem, magnetic field at center is 5 root 5 times that of the at a point on the axis. Now we are asked to calculate X here. We write like this. Say 5 root 5 B equals BC given. We substitute everything. 5 root 5 B mu naught I by 2R R square into R square plus X square whole to the power of 3 by 2 equals mu naught I by 2R. Mu naught I by 2R. Now we can cancel these things, mu naught I there. So we have 5 root 5 R cube equals R square plus X square whole to the power of 3 by 2. Now taking cube root on both sides, we write 5 root 5 whole to the power of 1 by 3 R equals R square plus X square whole to the power of half. Say this can be written as, say 125 whole to the power of 1 by 3 R square plus X square whole to the power of half. So taking the square root and square all those things, we have R square plus X square equals 5 R square. Therefore, we have 4R square equals X square To complete the calculation, we do it here. 4r square equals, now we substitute 4r is 0.1, so 10 raised to minus 2, minus 1 whole square is minus 2 equals x square. Therefore, x equals 0.2 meter. So, option 1 is correct. We think of 40th question here. Say in the 40th question we read, current I is flowing in a conductor shaped as shown in figure. The radius of the curved part is r and the length of the straight portion is very large. The value of the magnetic field at center O will be. Observe here, there are three parts to consider to get the resultant magnetic field here. One part is due to this straight part, another due to this 3/4 of the circle, and then this straight part. This straight part has no contribution to magnetic field at O because that is in line with that. Therefore, eventually we have to consider only two parts, one straight part and one 3/4 of the circle. Say magnetic field due to 3/4 of the circle is into the board, into the paper, because by right hand rule magnetic field is into the board thing by the circular part. By the right hand clasp rule, the magnetic field due to the straight part is out of the, say, paper. Therefore, we can calculate the two things now. Magnetic field due to curved part, be curved I write, is 3/4 of the magnetic field due to circle. Say mu naught I by 2r, and magnetic field due to straight part, I can straight away write down B equals B straight part mu naught I by 4 pi r, as x is r, the distance between straight part and the point O is r. Now, they are in the direction, we just check the directions once again. The field due to this curved part by using right hand curl rule is into the paper, that is into, and field due to this straight part is like this, say like this, it's also into the, therefore both are into the things. Therefore, total magnetic field is addition of these two. Therefore, B equals 3/4 mu naught I by 2r plus mu naught I by 4 pi r. We can take out the common factors there. Mu naught I by 4 pi r I can take out. As pi is not there in the first part, I simply write 3 pi by 2 plus only 1 is left here, therefore 1. That is the magnetic field at the center. We just check the directions of the current magnetic field once again. Say current direction is clockwise like this, then field is downwards. My thumb is pointing down, right hand thumb. Therefore, it is into the. And by the straight part, if I use the right hand clasp rule, then it goes into the paper. So both of them are into the paper. Magnetic field is to be added. Therefore, three pi by 2 plus 1. So the option 3 is correct. This concludes one part of the moving charges and magnetism. In the next session, we continue the questions on moving coil galvanometer and conversion of galvanometer into voltmeter and ammeter. Along with that, we also take up the questions on magnetism and matter, the chapter 5 of NCERT textbook.